we're here on the Old Kent Road in Asda. I've been listening to people who have been telling me how difficult it is. Of course, Asda itself is doing some amazing things. The £326 going out today is part of that. Another £324 in the autumn. The total package, obviously, as you know, is £37 billion in 12 months. I think that's a pretty substantial package, but I'm also listening to people and keeping an eye on the energy price cap. But the 37 billion is my focus, because we've got to get people, that money into people's accounts, and today's that first day of that process, and that's a good thing. But it's also worth listening to people and how they're feeling. The weekly shop is going, how they're changing their habits, and of course energy bills. We are in a global battle against inflation. There is no doubt about that. But we have an independent Bank of England that I am confident will be able to do the right thing to bring inflation under control. We have to do the right thing in government to make sure that we are financially disciplined. So the public sector pay is upon us. Many of the unions want to make sure that public sector workers who've gone above and beyond in what they've done will have that pay packet as soon as possible. And I've got all the public sector pay review bodies have reported in. I'll be saying more about that imminently. But that discipline across the economy is what will help us against the global battle against inflation.
Discipline also applies to tax cuts. Your predecessor, Rishi Sunak, has said that tax cuts now would be inflationary. They would make the problem worse. Do you agree with him?
So, up until 24 hours ago, I was one of the candidates looking to become Prime Minister. Rishi Sunak is still one of the candidates, and I wish him luck. One of the things I did say at the time, which I think where your question is going, because I made some pledges around tax cuts, is that we also have to make sure inflation has to abate. We have to continue that downward pressure on inflation. I demonstrated it by giving an example of what I was doing as Secretary of State for Education around reduction in headcount, 20% reduction. We were set that target. We got close to it. We've made that submission. So I think if you're going to introduce tax cuts, then you have to demonstrate where that headroom is coming from, and of course continue that downward pressure on inflation, because if we let inflation get out of control, then it will harm those people that we're trying to help the most. We took 2 million people out of tax altogether last week. That's the right thing to do. We've got to make sure we do both things. We're fiscally disciplined. If we are, and we're able to bring inflation under control, then we can deliver tax cuts in the future.
I do have to ask you about your leadership bid that you just mentioned. Do you think the fact that you took the job as Chancellor and then very soon afterwards called on the Prime Minister to step down damaged your chances? Was it that, or was it something else?
I don't think so. I think I always put country before career or personal ambitions. When the Prime Minister asked me last week to take on this role, I went straight to work to the Treasury, got my team together, started working on that plan that he wanted to present this week. By the afternoon, by about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, it became obvious to me that it was becoming impossible for us to have a functioning government. I went to see the Prime Minister, as I stated in my letter to him, to try and convince him that actually the right thing to do was for him to resign. He wanted me to go back to the Treasury, keep working, give it one final go. The morning after, it became obvious that it was impossible to do this, and I didn't want to see him, a friend of 30 years, being humiliated, which is why I wrote the letter I wrote. I just think we've got so much work to do. If you talk to anybody in the civil service, my own Perm Sec in Treasury, he will tell you the most important role to keep a country steady and of course a government functioning is that of Chancellor, which is why my focus now is very much on stewardship of the economy until a new leader is chosen, and of course that leader, that Prime Minister, will choose his own cabinet.
Why do you think your bid failed? What went wrong?
I got some great support from many of my colleagues across the party. I think we have to unite, we have to come together. We've got 24 months to demonstrate to people that we can deliver. I was doing it in education with, you remember, Skills, Schools, Family. You and I were together looking at some of the work we're doing in education. I think we need to do the same across all departments of government and demonstrate to people that we're going to build those schools for them, that we're going to deliver those skills that they so need, those different runways for their careers to take off on, that we're going to deliver what we're delivering today, the £326 into people's accounts, not £324 in the autumn. Being on people's side has to be our priority, and that's about delivery, and people will only vote for teams that are united. That's my only message to my colleagues, who are brilliant and hugely diverse, and I'm very proud of my party that can produce such talent. Whoever wins will be a great Prime Minister.
Who do you think it should be? Who are you backing?
I'm not backing anyone. I have to focus on the day job. I'm Chancellor of the Exchequer. I've got this week we are here listening to people, delivering that additional help, £326 landing in people's accounts today, £324 in the autumn. I've got big things to do all the way through the summer, and of course finally to sit down with whoever becomes leader to hopefully be part of the team that delivers for the nation for the next 24 months.